Okay, so first of all, good to see you, man. And
Mm,
I know it's only been a week, but uh,
mm.
I look forward to these meetings with you. It's easy.
Same
You're
here.
easy to talk to.
Thanks.
So Alicia Smith, and she says she's a female. Um,
I saw
she's
that.
from Queensland, Australia.
Yeah.
Uh, and anyway, she's the one that asked us the question about auto brewery syndrome last week. This week, she says, thanks for answering my question, but I always end up with more questions. Could a cop who is car suspended go on a bicycle or horse duty until they got their license back?
Well, that's pretty
I'm
simple.
gonna let, huh?
That's a simple one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, really? Y'all, so if one of your police officers was suspended from driving,
You can still, yeah, you can ride a horse or ride a push bike or yeah, it can't affect that, can it? Just because you
no, it
don't have a
can't affect it.
license.
I thought she was saying duty though. I mean, like, could you would you still keep a police officer on duty, but he'd have to ride a horse on duty or
Mate, I might have misunderstood.
that? Well, and I may misunderstood. I
Mm.
think what she's asking is if one of our police officers got suspended, their license, she says car suspended, could they go on a bicycle or horse duty? So
Oh, oh,
I'm thinking that duty means police work until they
okay.
got their license back.
Oh, well, I misunderstood it. I thought she meant, is a person that had their license suspended, are they allowed to ride a horse or a push bike?
Anybody.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah. Well, let's answer both of them. You answered it one way. If you're not a police officer and you get your license suspended, that doesn't affect that person riding a horse or riding a bicycle,
no.
right?
Mm,
Yeah, doesn't in Texas either.
mm, mm,
However, if you're a police officer
mm.
and your driving privileges are suspended, what do y'all do in Australia?
Very good question. In Australia, to charge a police officer with an offence requires the permission of a very senior police officer, probably maybe an assistant commissioner. Bearing in mind the New South Wales Police is a pretty big operation, it's like 15, maybe even 18,000 members.
Hmm.
So you can't just go and charge a police officer. You need permission to do that from a
Really?
very senior police officer, like probably at least, I think, around an assistant commissioner. But you can't, as I'm sure it is with Texan police, you can't, it's a sworn position, so you just can't dismiss them. A police officer is a police officer is a police officer. It doesn't matter if you're off duty, you're always a cop, aren't you? So you can't just, yeah, you're sure they can lose their license, but you can't just say, well, because you haven't got a license, you can't can't perform duties. You might be on
Really?
foot patrol.
That is crazy.
Mm.
So the difference is, uh, man, I can hear myself. Let me take this off. Uh, so in Texas, if a police officer, so let me back up. Let me ask you what you were talking about. If the officer was in, if he was off, let's say he was off duty, he
Hmm.
was a civilian, and he was driving out there and he was reckless, and a normal person that was pulled over by another police officer on duty, if they would have suspended that normal person, you're saying that they can't suspend
Oh, yeah,
a
they
police officer?
can.
They can.
Yeah, but it requires, I think, an assistant commissioner to approve that.
Really?
Hmm.
Really? So in Texas, let's just talk about Texas. If a police officer gets a normal traffic violation, that's just, that's just normal, right?
Hmm.
But if it's an infraction that warrants we have a list of laws like y'all do, and if one of those says, okay, you lose your license if you do this,
Hmm.
then a police officer can no longer be a police officer
Mm.
because
Oh.
their license suspended. We can't violate the law to enforce the law, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So
mm,
if the police officer is suspended and we put him behind the wheel of a police cruiser to go, then we're saying, okay, we don't care about the laws that the legislation has written
mm,
because he's a police officer. So in Texas, yeah, if your license is suspended, you can't be a police officer.
mm,
You can't.
mm, mm.
But it's also elevated to a higher misdemeanor than just a speeding
Yeah,
ticket too.
yeah, yeah.
So any police officer in Texas gets anything higher than a Class C, where it's speeding tickets and tail light, just tip. Class C is anything that you can't go to jail for.
Mm,
It
right,
just
okay.
basically.
Mm,
That's okay. But anything above that, reckless driving or the license suspended, we call it driving while license is suspended or invalid, then you automatically, your police license is suspended as well.
mm.
So,
Does that
yeah.
mean suspended or sacked?
Well, it'd be suspended, but it would depend on the disposition of the case, because if your license is suspended, you're going to have to go if he pleads to that and says, okay, not guilty or no contest,
What does
uh,
no contest
it,
mean?
it means I'm not saying I'm guilty, but I'm saying that you have enough evidence to go to court and I could be found guilty.
Mm,
So I'll just go ahead and plead no contest.
right.
I'm not pleading guilty. I'm
Mm,
just pleading no contest. It's just a disposition in a court.
mm,
Uh, if you do that, then that's going to go on your record, you know. And if you're a police officer, we're held to a higher standard, you
mm.
know. So
Oh,
we're enforcing traffic laws.
mm,
So if we violate a traffic law, we should be held to that same standard. That's at least that's how we operate and how we feel about it, So
mm.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
So don't do anything stupid.
one of the ways that we're held to a high standard is that if we commit a traffic offence on duty, we cannot be given an infringement notice. We have to be issued with a summons to appear in court. So it could be, yeah, I went through a stop sign without stopping. Normally, you just give someone an infringement notice or a ticket.
Right.
That can't happen. If I'm a police officer, I get a summons, or it's not called a summons anymore. We'll call it a summons. I'm
Mhm.
charged. I'm charged with it, and I have to
Yeah.
go to court.
Just like
Um,
everybody else.
well, everybody else would just get an infringement notice. I
Right.
have
And
to
then
go to
they
court.
have if they got an infringement notice, then they have the option of just paying it
Yeah,
or saying, I want to
mm,
go
yeah,
see a
yeah,
judge,
yeah.
right? A summons. Okay.
The police
Yeah.
on duty don't get that. They have to go to court. They get a summons, which means they're charged, which means it requires the permission or the approval of an assistant commissioner for that to happen. And
Hmm.
that sounds, so there are going to be some people who hear that and go, oh, that's just the cops looking after themselves. That ain't the case. I've never heard of a time when that wasn't given, when that permission wasn't approved. It's just a way of vetting the system, of vetting the information. Because in New South Wales, I just can't go and decide to charge somebody. It has to be, I have to submit that charge to another officer, and that other officer
Really?
looks at it and approves it. So it's just a vetting process. But because police are held in such high regard,
Yeah.
that has to go to an assistant commissioner for that to happen. Now, I might be wrong on the rank, but it is a significant rank.
Yeah. I think we have a similar system. Um, so I mean, I can write up a report like, let's just go back to the domestic violence situation, right? Where no physical altercation appeared, just he said, she said, he's arguing, she's arguing, they elevated the voice and somebody called and police got involved and we go out there. Now I can write up a charge and I can write up, um, a case, so to speak, and then do the whole case packet and then uh, and so as a police officer, I would just write up my case and I'd put it in the file. It would go up to the detectives. The detectives would, they would forward it or they would cancel it. It really didn't matter to me.
mm,
I mean, I was done
mm,
once I finished that call.
mm,
But when I was the constable, then I didn't have those tiers to go through.
mm,
If I wrote up the case, and I would take it to the district attorney, and who would be the ones that the lawyers for the state, and they
mm,
would be the one prosecuting. And I guess they could, they could say, well, you don't have enough here for this case
mm,
or whatever, and
mm.
make it go away. But I was more hands on as the constable as I was than I was as a police officer. So
Okay.
it's pretty much the same thing. Yeah.
Mm. When in New South Wales, and I'm pretty sure this would be true of all Australia, is that once I instigated proceedings against a person, and of course that charge has been accepted, that's the word that they use, accepted by another officer, it all comes back to me. I can't, um, I can't refer it to somebody else. It's what you called it. Formerly, we are called the informant, and I have carriage of the matter from start to finish.
Hmm.
And that's in some ways it's pretty onerous. And
Yeah.
and do you would have the expression prima facie? Do you
Yeah.
have
Prima
that?
facie. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so I mean, that's all you need to actually charge somebody. But of course, if you've only got a prima facie case, you haven't really got that much. All you got to do is enough to arrest them and charge them. But you want to win it at
Yeah.
court, so we would have the ability. Although I'll have to backtrack a little bit. If I had a matter before a court, and the prosecutor, he probably had the power to withdraw it at court.
Yeah.
He could look at it and go, I don't think we're going to win this. And there's also another person in every command. A command is like a group of police, within a local area. And there's
Hmm.
always the second in charge of the command was called the crime manager. Sounds a bit like they're a crook, doesn't it? They were the crime
Right.
manager, and he or she could withdraw it without my permission. Anyway,
Yeah. Would it bother you if they withdrew it and you really thought that you had something there?
yeah, there was one time it did, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
probably twice I can remember. I'm thinking, well, I don't agree with that, and
Yeah.
most of the time I probably couldn't care less, but
Yeah.
sometimes there was the two times I didn't agree with it, but I didn't have much say in it.
There's a lot of times that a lot of cases that I did, as a police officer and as a constable, I would send it over to the DAs and it'd go through it'd get lost somewhere over there doing what they do.
It's a
And
good way to put it.
yeah, at the end of the month, they would send to every police department a disposition of cases, so
Ah,
you would
right.
see your case up there and you
Mm,
never got subpoenaed to go testify for
mm.
the prosecution. So you always like, I wonder what happened to that guy that, that threw the beer out of the window and hit somebody, something stupid like that.
Uh,
And you would get the disposition. There'd be a whole list of all the cases that
uh,
pleaded because if the person who did the crime just pleaded out, there was no court. They just pled
mm,
uh,
mm,
and took their beating and we were never involved because they admitted to it, so to speak.
mm,
So
mm.
yeah,
There were
yeah,
times when we had to, if we had a matter that went to a hearing. So a hearing is at a local court. That's where the vast majority of our stuff was heard,
yeah.
at a local court. If we didn't win, we would have to do a report on why we lost. We would have to answer to the boss, and that's the superintendent, generally a detective superintendent, why we
Hmm.
lost.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Mm,
Yeah. Well, I never experienced that,
mm.
you
No,
know.
I didn't. I don't think I ever had to do it, but that's what happened. If you lost, the
Oh,
boss
wow.
wanted to know why.
Hmm. That's crazy. Yeah, I guess because if I did a report and I sent it to, just filed it in the stack and the detectives looked at it the next day,
Mm,
if it wasn't good enough, they would turn, they'd give it back to me. And it's like, oh, are you going to need more?
Ah,
more meat over here. You're leaving
yeah.
out some things.
Yeah, we had
Um,
something similar. Yeah.
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 And then once that was done, then it would go out. It's not like it went from my hand right to the prosecutor,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
because
What we
sometimes you get lazy.
yeah. What we called it, or what that person was called in New South Wales, was the brief handling manager.
Yeah, yeah,
And they would go
yeah,
through it and they go, okay, Peter, you need to go and talk to that person, get a statement from that person, photograph this, whatever it might be.
yeah.
You
Yeah,
have
we
to
would
do
have
it.
to go to the DA's office with our whole packet,
Mm,
of arrest records and all that,
mm,
criminal history of this person.
mm,
And then we'd go to the DA's office. Then a prosecutor would meet us in the conference room and we'd go
mm,
through page by page by
mm,
page. And
mm,
they would, that'd be the time that they would say, you need
mm,
this, or, you don't have enough here. This is not really a crime.
mm,
We understand how you got here, but you need to
mm,
go ahead and
right,
unravel this.
mm,
And then, but if they accepted it, then it was in that cycle, and it could be months before that case is
mm.
ever
Okay.
disposed of. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
you
Okay.
forget about the case before it ever, uh, ever
Uh,
goes to trial.
yeah.
There's a lot
Often,
of times you have to read your report again.
often for us, what you're just talking about happened about half an hour before we went to court. We used to jokingly call the prosecutor the persecutor.
Uh-huh, yeah, yeah. Well, I think we got that too. It's always that, it's always that battle with the prosecutor. They got a job to do too,
I
but it
was,
seems
yeah,
like in our mind, you're slowing us down. I don't want to be here. I want to be out on the highway. I want to
yeah,
be out there working.
yeah.
I got another question too.
Mm-hmm,
And this one's from K Zoned 7718. This is only a day ago.
mm-hmm.
And he says, how do the two of you feel about countries who implement a traffic fine system based on income? Like Finland, where a rich guy once was fined 121,000 euros for going 32 kilometers over.
Wow.
What do you, how do you feel about um, income-based penalties, I guess?
Well, what we have, I can only talk about New South Wales, but it's probably Australia wide, is there is a points system. When you get your license, you get allocated, I think it might be 12 points. And every infringement notice you get deducts from those 12 points. And when you've got no points left, you've got no license. So
Yeah.
that smooths out between the rich and the poor. It doesn't
Also,
matter if you're rich or poor, you lose the same amount of points and you can quickly end up with no license.
do you, okay, so I understand this. We have a similar point system, I think, but
Mhm.
it's mainly for commercial drivers, not for
Oh,
regular
oh,
drivers. But
right.
are you saying that in New South Wales, the point system is there in lieu of actually paying a fine?
No,
So,
no, you still pay the
okay, so they
fine.
have to pay a fine as well, right?
Mm,
So
hmm.
that's what this person is asking. Do you think that fine should be, uh, let's say I know what he's getting at. I think he's getting at, should, if $121,000 euro for going 32 over, but if you're only making, if you're working in a convenience store, you're not making $121,000.
Mm,
So he's trying to say, what do you think about a country that bases their penalty, their financial penalty, on how much income that person makes, to kind of level the field
mm,
for the guy who works 4 days a week,
mm,
slugging it out, lifting beer kegs,
mm,
compared to the hedge fund manager who's making $1 million a year.
mm,
Because, and I see why he's saying that, because if you make $100,000 a year and they don't skew those fines, then that guy don't care if he pays 100. Yeah, I mean, he don't pay if he pays 30 euros, you know, because that, what is that to him? He pays that much on getting his shoe shined. So I guess I got two ways of thinking about that. I think it's a good idea, but then are we penalizing a guy who's busted his butt to be successful?
Ah, right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and if we are, what does that do to somebody who says, I mean, I can be successful, but all they're going to do is, they're going to, it's useless because they're going to take more money away from me. You know what I'm saying? So,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
But in that European country, I wonder if they can have that matter heard at the local court. Um, but you have
yeah, I
to,
don't know.
but one of the things that's true, and it often trips people up. I was in court one day. I was handling a matter in court one day when a fellow pled not guilty to a ticket offence called negligent driving. And
Hmm.
negligent driving is within the police is famously easy to prove. It's very, very easy to prove. Anyway, this bloke pled not guilty to an offence. He was actually a truck driver. And, and it was a bit funny because at the end of it, the magistrates in New South Wales it's a bit confusing. They can find the matter proved, they can but dismiss it. And it's a bit confusing. But
Hmm.
but anyway, that's what happened with this matter. And but the magistrate has no jurisdiction over the points. He can say, "Okay, Peter, you went through the stop sign. I'm going to dismiss that, find the matter proved, but I'm going to dismiss it, which means it won't go on my record." But he does not, or she does not have the power to say, "You're not going to lose any points. You'll still lose the points."
Yeah, I
A
mean,
bit
yeah,
confusing.
it is, um, because there's some things a magistrate can't do here too. I mean, they got a lot of power,
Mm,
but then, you know, but I can't think of an instance comparable to what you're talking about. But I'm sure there's some similarities in there somewhere.
mm.
Yeah. Do you think a person, uh, let's say if they were in Australia, in New South Wales, right, and let's say they made $200,000 a year, and they got a traffic violation, and it's on the books, it's $30 for a traffic violation of this sort. And you ride him, and they just throw it over there in the passenger seat because it don't really mean a whole lot to them. They're going to pay it. They're going to have their assistant pay it,
Mm.
or the guy that's making fish and chips on the side of the street. That um, he gets an infraction. That could mean the difference of him paying some of his bills or not,
Mm,
right?
mm.
Do you think it's fair for the guy who's making 200,000 to be charged more?
Well, I would always bear in mind what I think that person would be earning. And if they're willing to admit the offence, that was the end of it. And I'll tell you, one day I was walking down the main street of this particular town. It was a pretty busy town, and I had a probationary constable with me. And
Hmm.
we saw this bloke come down the street. It was in the middle of the day, a lot of traffic, come down the road in his utility, and he was revving it and making a lot of noise and being a damn fool. And I stepped out off the footpath and I pointed at him. I said, "Mate, there's another street coming up down to the left." Said, "Pull down there." And so he pulled down there, and he parked, and I walked over to him, and I just told him off. And anyway, and he was an apprentice mechanic, so I knew he's earning not very much money at all because he was on his break. Anyway, my partner, this probationary constable, said to me, "Pete, why didn't you give him a ticket?" I said, "Didn't you see him shaking? That's
Yeah.
enough."
Yeah.
He
And
was,
I
his
think
hands were
I've
going
told,
like that.
yeah,
That's enough.
it is enough.
Mm.
And I always told the guys that worked for me, and I was told this too when I was going through the probationary period. If you're going to chew somebody's ass, don't write them a ticket.
No, you
You know,
can't. Mm.
yeah. If you're going to write him a ticket, don't chew his ass
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you've
yeah,
already,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Because at the end of the day, they're they're your equal. They're not somebody below you.
yeah,
And
yeah,
just because you got that badge on,
yeah.
you don't want to treat them,
Mm.
and it irritates me when police officers will. So, like in Texas, we have a seatbelt law.
Mm-hmm.
You can get a traffic violation for not having your seatbelt on. I don't know how it is in Australia.
Same.
Same.
Mm.
Uh, but there's a lot of police officers why they're in the police car because we have so much on.
Oh,
We have I
mm,
still wore my seatbelt, but there were some police officers that didn't wear a seatbelt,
mm,
but
mm.
yet they would write a seatbelt ticket.
No, that's not right.
It's not right.
No.
Um,
Did
so yeah.
you, yeah. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just finishing by saying that. Um, yeah, if you're going to chew somebody's butt like you were talking about, you
Mm.
can't write them a ticket.
No.
You got to use some. You, they're not your child. You know what I'm saying.
I think it's actually
So
double jeopardy. To do that is double
it
jeopardy.
is. Yeah,
Yeah, you can't do both. I remember
totally agree.
you reminded me once we were going to execute a search warrant and on a house, and the information was that there was a firearm inside the house. Now in Australia, that's not like in your country. To have a firearm in the house is, you might say, almost rare, or it's unusual. And the firearm was the offence. Someone had a shortened firearm. There was
Mhm.
information that a shortened firearm to be used in an armed hold-up. Anyway, I just remember going to execute the search warrant, and I was wearing the ceramic bullet resistant vest. Yeah, the big
Mhm.
one you put over your shoulder. And I just
Yeah,
remember I felt like I wasn't wearing a seatbelt because I just couldn't feel it.
you're right.
Yeah.
Right.
I kept
Yeah.
on going, oh, gee, where's the seatbelt? And yeah, that was a bit weird. It's weird when
Yeah.
you can't
People
feel it.
don't realize.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Not having that vest.
Mm,
We wore them all the time. It wasn't mandatory, but you were provided one,
yeah.
and what if it? I would never. So this is a maturity thing, probably a
Mm.
flaw of mine. I wouldn't wear the back panel. I would just so I'd take the back panel out, and then I would put it on and strap it
Oh,
up.
so yours had the ceramic vests, the ceramic plates
Mhm.
in them.
Yeah,
Oh, because we were could be issued with Kevlar.
yeah.
Every,
We had Kevlar too.
yeah, we
It
only
depends
had
on
that.
what the threat level was.
Yeah. Oh well, every police vehicle in New South Wales had the ceramic plated vests in them,
Uh-huh.
but we could also get a personal issue Kevlar, and but they couldn't make you wear it. I don't think
Yeah,
I ever wore one. I don't think so.
the Kevlar or the ceramic.
So there's Kevlar. Yeah,
See, we did.
I never had one, but every
Yeah.
truck had every truck or every vehicle had the ceramic plated vests in it. There's actually a
They
funny.
issued us. Sorry, Peter, I didn't mean to talk over you. But they issued us the ones for rifles too,
Ah,
rifle protection. And man, it
yeah,
was like lugging around 30 pounds. No one I knew of. I had one in a bag. It comes in a big old heavy bag. I
yeah.
never took it out. When I retired, I gave it back to them and it never been worn. It's like way too heavy.
That could be
You
the
know,
one I'm talking about. Ours were pretty heavy.
oh good God, it was heavy. It was too
Yeah, yeah,
heavy.
yeah. Well, there
Yeah.
was one time there was other police. They were executing a search warrant on a house, and so the cops were all surrounded the house.
Mhm.
And when they were given the order to go in, the fence was that high. The back fence was one of those metal fences. It was that high they couldn't get over it, so they just crashed through it.
That's smart. That's smart.
Would have made a hell of a racket. Crash
Did you
bang.
have any questions? Did
The one that I thought that Wade was asking about what it's like after the police, with regard to not thinking or acting like a police officer anymore. And he asked me that a few days ago, and it's a very relevant question. But and
Mhm.
even just now, like half an hour ago, when I pulled up here at Wade's place, which is about say a 15 or 20-minute drive from my home, and it's just through an old country road. To this day, whenever I pull up, and I took notice when I pulled up here just now, I still depress the button on the handbrake. So when I pull, a guy got a four-wheel drive vehicle. It's a pretty old vehicle, and I always depress the button when I engage the handbrake, so it doesn't make that click 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 sound. And we were
Yeah,
trained that at the academy, so that when you're pulling up, so people, you've got to make as little noise as possible.
yeah.
And the other thing that I do is that I never have the interior light switched on so it illuminates when I open the door.
That's right. Yeah.
And
But
it's
you're doing that in your you're doing that in your personal car.
yeah, I do. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just a habit. But and it's interesting that just very recently I've been rewatching the really old American TV show called The Streets of San Francisco.
Me too.
It is fantastic. I love it. But you know, one thing I noticed about 2 nights ago, because I had this question in my mind from Wade, and I noticed Carl Malden and was it Douglas, Michael
Yeah.
Douglas?
Michael Douglas. Yeah.
Yeah, and they pulled up in that great, we call them Yank tanks, that massive big American car they've got. And when they got out, the light went on. And I thought
Yeah.
they didn't get very good advice on that because it shouldn't have went on. If they've been
Yeah.
fair income, that light wouldn't have went on.
Yeah, none of ours, we didn't have any in our police vehicles. You could turn it on with a switch, and then
Mm,
ours were red,
mm,
so you wouldn't lose your night vision.
mm.
Uh, but yeah, if you open the door, the lights wouldn't come on the inside.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
just silhouettes you.
yeah.
Yeah,
And just yesterday I went to every Friday I go into the main town here on the island called Curry. And on Friday mornings, you can go in there to a hall, and these lovely ladies, they have tea and coffee and scones. You probably don't know what a scone is, but and you can sit down there and have morning tea and chat to people. It's very, very nice. It's like my weekly social outing. Anyway, I never sit, and I took notice of this yesterday. I never sit with my back to the door.
yeah,
I'll always sit facing the door, and that's a very common police thing and post police thing.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah. I'm the same way. My wife, when we go in a restaurant,
mm,
she automatically will sit where her back's to the door. She
yeah,
goes,
yeah.
I know you want to sit there, honey.
Mm,
It's true.
mm, mm.
But unlike Australia, I always have a pistol in my pocket. And I don't
Mm,
think you
mm.
guys,
No, no,
and
no.
nobody's going to rob me.
Yeah,
Nobody's going to come in there and shoot that place up, you know. But it's like the seatbelt. It's like the seatbelt issue we were talking about. Not putting
yeah,
your seatbelt on, me
yeah,
not having a gun on me after, 50 years.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah,
it's very, very strange,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, if I
Uh,
had that freedom, I would probably do it if I went up to Melbourne or into Sydney. And
yeah.
almost certainly, I think I would carry one, but anyway, just not allowed.
We got a saying down here. Um, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6.
That's great. That's great.
You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah,
We
yeah,
have our juries are 12 people.
yeah,
Our pallbearers are 6,
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
So
that's
we,
great.
we always say I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. So
Yeah,
I'm carrying
yeah,
my weapon, but
yeah,
it's more a comfort thing than a
yeah,
danger, people me thinking that everybody's dangerous,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
but and it's real small. It's a 380, it fits in my front pocket. No one knows I got it,
It's a
you know.
380. What does that mean? It's a 38 caliber.
Just yeah, I don't know why they call it. It's a point 380, and I don't know what the difference between that and the 38. The round looks the same, but it's a very, very small frame. In
Mhm.
fact, when you grab the grip, your last two fingers here are not holding on to anything. So that's
Wow.
how small it is.
Ah, very discreet. Ah.
It's very discreet.
How
But
many
we have
rounds?
only 8,
Mm, mm,
maybe even less than that. Might be
mm,
5.
mm.
I don't know if I got it in here or not. I think it's in the house.
It's in
But
your pocket. It's in your pocket.
yeah, let me check my pocket. This is in my backyard, so I don't have to worry about it here. I hope. But it, so in Texas, it's open carry state. You
Mm.
can anybody can carry a weapon on their hip.
What if
It's
I
not
was there?
infringement. Huh?
Would that when you say everybody, does that include visitors who aren't Americans?
Yeah, as long as you're not a felon. If you're a
Mm.
felon, you can't be in possession of a firearm.
Ah.
But
Mm.
yeah, I used to tell people, man, because they would, you'd go up to a window to make contact with them, and they would say, "Hey, I just want to let you know I'm carrying a weapon. I got a weapon here." I'm like,
Ah,
"Okay,
yeah,
good. You
yeah.
need to,
Mm.
because it's going to take police officers, and we're going to try to kill ourselves to get to you, but it might take 8 minutes, let's say, to
Mm.
get to you.
Mm.
You're going to have to." how are you going to protect? You need to protect yourself and your family
Mm,
till we get there.
mm,
So, yeah, I want you to be carrying a weapon. We have weapons everywhere. So I want
mm,
the good guys to be carrying weapons. They're
mm,
also going to be my backup
mm,
if,
mm, mm,
if something hits the fence. One of these Texas boys is going to pull over and he's going to have the biggest stinking gun you've ever seen in your life, and he's going to have your back.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
uh, yeah, I'm not scared of anybody having a weapon. They're just law-abiding people.
Mm. When I was a little kid, Mike, I used to watch, going back to American TV shows, I used to watch Bonanza, with Lorne Green and Hoss and Little
Yeah,
Joe. And I realized later that I sort of was in love with watching those big cowboys walk around with the pistols hanging off their belt. And when
yeah,
I joined the cops, I got to do that. It was, I mean, I'm not a gunhead. I mean, I've been around guns probably most of my life just because I'm hunting, but
yeah,
not pistols. I mean, pistols are pretty rare in Australia. But when I
yeah,
when I joined the coppers, bloody hell, got to walk around with a gun on my like Hoss.
yeah.
That was cool.
And people don't realize how big of a pain in that ass
Ah,
that is.
yeah, yeah, they're very uncomfortable. Yeah,
It gets caught on everything,
yeah,
and
yeah, and it
you
wears the
know,
seat out. You ever buy an old
yep.
retired police sedan? You can tell because the seat's worn out where the pistol grip butt goes.
Here
Yeah,
too, here too, and what people that don't know anything about police, they just see us out there. They don't realize we have to go to the bathroom like everybody else. We have to pee and
yeah,
other things. You know, and because we're cops, we got a marked car, we're in a uniform, we got a badge, we got this gun belt on. It's not like we can just go into a, a normal bathroom and take everything off,
yeah, yeah,
you know.
yeah,
So,
uh,
so we learned I learned right after the academy when I was on probationary period that all the guys that were training me, they said, "Hey, anytime you're at the station, you need to go to the bathroom, whether
yeah.
you need to go or
Mm,
not. You need
mm,
to go because you sure as hell you're not
yeah,
going to go, and then two minutes down the road, you're going to get into a where you have to report to an accident, and you're going to be out there for 3 hours,
uh,
and
uh, uh,
no place for you to go then. So,
yeah.
uh, yeah. So being, the question was that you asked was the transition from being a cop to civilian
Mm,
and how hard that is. And for me, and I imagine it's like this for a lot of people, is it is difficult. It is difficult not to look at a car and find you know, everything going wrong with this car and giving me a reason to pull that car over,
mm,
criminally. I don't mean, the guy's
mm,
got a broke windshield or something, but
mm,
you can find so much information about a person
mm,
just by the car that they're driving.
mm, mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
you know how
yeah,
it is as a cop.
yeah, yeah.
And, if you're sitting in a restaurant and you're looking out the window and the car pulls up and, this got identifiers on it,
Mm,
you're thinking, I know this guy or know this type of
mm,
person,
yeah.
you know. So it's Wade asked me, and it's hard to look at people as me just being a normal person, you
Mm,
know, and I think that's harder on us than most civilians. They can just enjoy their life. They're oblivious.
mm. But then again, I think there's really positive benefits in that, is that you're far less likely to become a victim of a crime
Oh
if you're
yeah,
an
yeah,
ex-policeman, because so many people live their lives, and when you say they're oblivious, and sometimes being oblivious means you get into trouble, like you become a victim of a crime or
yeah.
even an accident. I mean, you have to learn from other people's mistakes, and I mean, they're the best way to learn, other people's mistakes, and I think that's yeah, sure, there's difficulties, psychological difficulties, but there's benefits too.
Yeah, no doubt there's benefits. I mean, yeah. Uh, but does that shorten our lifespan because we're always on point?
Yeah,
You know,
I'm sure we live less.
yeah.
I've never seen a study on that, but I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. if police officers have a reduced lifespan, simply
Yeah.
because, I don't know, adrenaline peaks. And even one time, Mike, I mean, I've been living here for 12 years. This might have happened 6 or 7 years ago, maybe more. And I was sitting in my car in the main street of Curry, just near a supermarket. And I saw this bloke just come out and he's putting groceries in the back of his car. And then this fellow walked up and I could hear them. He said, and he accused him of stealing all the stuff. And I thought, oh, God, I'm going to have to get out here and intervene. But they were just having a joke. Oh. I mean, bang like that, I'm switched on and thinking, I'm going to have to intervene here. Anyway, that
Yeah.
sometimes happens.
Yeah. I don't, I was telling Wade, I don't really dwell on it, but
Mm,
when he mentioned that question,
mm,
then I
mm.
realized, yeah, I'm probably not like I was when I was a police officer, but I'm probably certain there's probably a certain part of me that,
Mm.
does something different than just a normal person that's just
Yeah,
living their life.
yeah, yeah. And
And sometimes maybe I wish I could have a nonchalant, just trust everybody. But, we lived with, yeah, I didn't deal with good people for
mm,
27 years. The only people I dealt with were criminals. That was my job,
that's
so
that's
I don't
funny,
know
isn't
how to
it?
relate to normal people.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
If,
I
if
have
that makes,
people. Sometimes people come to King Island and they might. Even just yesterday, it happened when I was having my scones. There was people visiting the island. I usually say, "Where are you from?" And if perchance they said, "Oh, I'm from somewhere where I served," and I say, "Oh, I used to be a police officer up there," and they say, do you know Mike Jones?" No. Is he a baddie? No, because I only knew the baddies.
that's right. That's
Yeah, I
right.
don't know the good people.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And that's probably, it's probably not a good thing,
Uh,
because somebody would tell me, "Oh, you live in a town, the school has no drugs in it," because they live in a world that,
mm,
you
mm,
know, and I have to tell them, you'd be surprised at how much drugs are in
mm,
that school,
mhm. Yeah.
and it just ruins their sense of friendly, you know,
Mm,
nice neighborhood, the
yeah.
romantic comedy that they're used to watching on TV,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I don't
Guy.
like doing that. I you know
No, no, it
I don't like
just
telling them that.
no, it's gives you a skewed view of the world, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but maybe it helps solidify other relationships you have, like say the one that you and I have, is that it makes it perhaps more real, um, yeah, less superficial. I think
yeah.
that's true. And so I mean, you can't change it, but it's true that we just live in a post police world, a post awareness, and every bloody hell, every retired copper I know is exactly the same.
I know, me too.
Yeah. So
Yeah, if I didn't have to go out and talk to people, I wouldn't. I'd
mm,
stay
mm,
around here and work on my car, my old truck, and
yeah,
just be a hermit.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Just to stay away from people, because I think our way of looking at it is everybody we looked at, we were skeptical of what their end game was. What are they thinking? What are they fixing to do? They see me in uniform, so they're on the best behavior right now. But what are they going to
Ah.
do when I walk down the street?
Did you ever notice, and I noticed this, that people, when I was in uniform, people gave me more personal space?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
weird. Because I remember one time being in a busy shop or being shopping centre and I was off duty. And I remember thinking, why are these people getting so close to me? And I wasn't used to that greater personal distance. It's like I was dirty or had leprosy.
Yeah, you wish you did. I know. I'm not comfortable around people. Everybody that we were around
Mm,
were potential criminals, because that's just the circle that we had to run in our job.
mm.
Dispatch never dispatched me to a Sunday school to meet with the kids. That it was always some bad guy doing something.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah. Here's a funny story for you. when I went to one of my one-man stations, I did it at my first one-man station, which is a town of 120 people, I might say. Not, it's just a village. Anyway, when I went to and I walked around and met everybody. Anyway, the second one-man station I went to, I was doing the same thing. And I went out to a farm that I actually knew the farm because when I lived in Sydney, I used to go to the area where I was a policeman hunting, righto?
Yeah.
So when I got to, this is at Manildra. So when I got to Manildra, I was actually went out to this farm where I used to go hunting on just to say hello. I walked around the village, talked to people, went out to this farm, pulled up in the bull wagon, in the paddy wagon, got out, walking up to the farm door, and the lady inside started screaming, hysterically screaming. I thought, what's going on? Is the house on fire? Like, and she was thought I'd come out to tell her that a teenage son was dead in a car
Oh.
crash because he was a bad driver. And I'm saying, calm down. I'm just here to say hello. And she said, please don't come just to say hello. Well, I
Oh,
was. She was hysterical. Anyway, I realised then that because, you get used to being in uniform and especially in Australia, wearing a gun on your belt, it's just, yeah, people don't have a good reaction to it. You're not out
yeah.
Avon.
Yeah. You know, it was really nice. There were some times that I wore civilian clothes, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and I would I'd have a badge on my belt
Mm-hmm.
and still have my sidearm and then handcuffs off the back of my belt.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot of times I had to do that.
You sound like Mike
And
Douglas.
yeah, yeah, right, right. Uh, but when I was in full uniform,
Mm-hmm.
people treated you so much different than
Mm-hmm.
even if you were in plain clothes and
Mm-hmm.
had your they still respected you. They knew you were a cop. They just really didn't know what kind of cop you were. But when you were in full uniform, and you have a taser on and you have a body cam on and you got
Uh,
4 magazines and you got
uh,
just 1,000 things on you.
wow.
You
Uh,
tourniquet and a medical kit and just all
uh,
kinds of stuff. They think you rule the world. They just, for the most part, there's some people that don't, but for the most part, they treat you with just so much respect, and
mm,
it's it's just nice. I was talking to a person the other day, and it was a function I was at, and I was telling them when we go to training, extra, we have to do so much training every year. It
yeah.
might be 300 miles away, at a
Ah.
class, and then
Mm,
police departments from all over Texas would send people, to this
ah.
class,
Mm,
and it would be something, that we'd have to do. We would take our police vehicles. The
mm,
county paid for the gas and all that.
mm,
Or if we took our personal vehicle, then they would give us money for our personal vehicle for gas and things like
mm,
that because it was for duty.
mm,
But I always took a police car. It was just I don't know why, to tell you the truth, but it's what I was used to. I drove it every day.
mm,
But my jurisdiction would stop 30 miles after I left my, so I wouldn't have any jurisdiction past that to stop traffic.
mm.
But I would be on the interstate, our
Yeah.
big road, and they'd
Yeah.
be backed up for 20 miles, so I'd have to exit so they could all get going again. And then I'd
Ah,
get back on
yeah.
the highway, because
Uh,
I had to do the speed limit. I'm in a marked car,
yeah. Uh,
and but they wouldn't go around me.
yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know if it's a sign of respect. More than likely, that's what it is. And they were just afraid that we're looking at every car that goes around us. Oh, but don't go around the police officer. He's going to stop you.
Uh,
Uh,
one time I saw it was in a town. I saw this car on a highway, and he must have been doing about it was 100 kilometre limit. He was doing about maybe 60, so it's maybe about 35 mile an hour. There's a whole line of traffic behind him. So I put the red and blue lights on, and I progressively pulled over each car, went past, got right behind the really really slow car, and it's this really really old farmer. And I pulled him over, and he was a nice bloke. And I said, mate, you're only doing 60. You got all these cars behind you. He goes, and he lived a long, long way away, not a long way away, but a fairly remote area. And he said, Oh, do you want me to go faster? I said, no, mate, I don't want you to go faster. Just when you get a line of traffic behind you, just find a nice spot, pull over and let them go because some idiot's going to cause a crash.
Yeah,
Uh,
they're going to road rage and be mad at you.
yeah, yeah.
You know.
But,
Yeah, funny stuff, man.
uh,
What else you got? I know you sent me a couple questions.
how long we been going now?
Oh Lord, I don't know, brother. I don't know how to. Is there a way to look at that
I think it's about 50 minutes, I think.
already?
I think so.
Wow.
Uh,
You sent me some questions.
maybe we should do them next time.
Okay, you want to do that on the next one?
Uh,
Yeah, I said the ones that I pulled off of the comments, so
uh,
but you had three or four down here, so yeah, we can do that
yeah,
on
I've
the
got it.
next one.
Yeah. Okay, maybe we'll deal with them next time.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
Um,
wanna you wanna call it quits?
yeah, I've been going
Has it
50
been that
minutes,
long,
about
really?
50 minutes, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need to cut it loose, don't we? All right, Peter.
Righto.
Brother, it's always a pleasure to visit with you and with Wade. I
Yeah.
got to visit with him about 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Yes.
We really appreciate your time. And likewise, I look forward to our Saturday or our weekly get togethers. It's such a lot of fun and very informative. Very informative. Uh,
Yeah, just so everybody that's watching knows we're going to do this once a week.
yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll post it. And
Yeah.
I've been posting up here on Wednesday, which would be y'all's Thursday. I don't know when do you post your on your
Wade puts
your
these ones on Tuesdays,
okay, so
on a
which is Monday
Tuesday.
for me. Okay.
So today's for us. It's Saturday morning.
Yeah, and it's Friday evening for us.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
Wade puts it up on Tuesday morning here. So that'd be
okay.
so yeah, we're about 18 hours in front of you, I think.
Yeah,
Something.
so that'd be my Monday, and then I posted on my Wednesday here, which would be your Thursday there.
Yep. Okay.
So
Right. Cool.
just so everybody
Right.
knows what you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
our posting time. But
Yeah.
all right, man.
Cool.
Well,
Right.
thanks, brother. Good seeing you.
Thanks again. Right. See you,
Bye,
mate.
brother.
Ta-da.
See you, man.